Well, as we said in our first installment, we gave you all the foods that were kosher, all the foods that weren't kosher, and all of the stuff in between. So remember, all veggies, grains, fruits, they're all kosher, all kosher. Meats, if they chew their own cud, remember the ew, and they have split hooves, kosher. Basically, birds that of prey, not kosher, everything else okay. Seafood, if they have fins and scales, okay. But here, when it turns to cooking, it becomes a little bit more complicated. You see, in the Torah it says, you shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. Now, the way we interpret that is that we cannot eat dairy. Well, we certainly can't cook dairy and eat meat at the same time. But we do something even further. We create what's called... let me give you an example. Say you have a home, and your home is very, very precious to you. Everything that is in your home is very precious. Your family, your belongings, everything's very precious. So you have a wall, and your home is safe. But to keep it even safer, what you do is maybe you build a fence around your home. And that's what we did with our mitzvah of eating, our dietary stuff. So what we have done is that not only, originally it was you don't cook dairy and meat together. Now we don't even eat it. So if you have some kosher beef, you can't have any dairy or any dairy byproducts either with it or, traditionally speaking, for anywhere between 2 to 6 hours after. If you have dairy, you can't have any fleshic meat stuff till about 2 hours after. Because you know what? The dairy digests quicker. We're very scientific people. So you can't mix the two. You can't eat the two together, dairy and fleshic. The parv stuff is the grains, the fruit, right? The veggies, all that's parv. That means, and wait for it, and go with it where you'd like, parv stuff can go either way. It is indeed by food. It can go either way. That's right. You can have parv with anything. And here's something that's strange. Get the strange face out. Fish, seafood, if it's kosher, it's parv. It's not counted as meat. So you know what? You want some kosher cheese? And remember, that means cheese that has no animal fat in it. If you want to have some cheese on that piece of fish, gesundheit, go right ahead. Now, we also talked about how you can't eat it together and you can't cook it together. So let me show you a few parts of my kitchen. If I can just turn around. There we go. Here's my kitchen. All right. Now, I could say, well, I just kind of messed it up a little bit so it looks a little messy and stuff, so it looks lived in. But actually, this is a pretty good day with it. All right. So when it comes to cooking stuff, we have separate cooking stuff for meat, for dairy, and for parv. So in the middle, we have our parv stuff, which is all black. To the right of it, we have dairy, which is a mixture of gray and blue stuff. And all the way to the left here is the meat stuff, red. And above it, we have the dishes and the utensils. So you don't have dairy utensils with a meat dish. It's all over the place. But you know what? You get used to it. And here is some of the dairy dishes. And here we go. Glass. If you clean it really, really well in really, really hot water, it can be either. Okay? So you got all that, but that's not all. Let me move we have two, not one, but two ovens. One for fleshik and one for dairy. Now we happen to use the dairy one for parv as well, because we can't afford to have three ovens. But that's okay. We've got two dishwashers. One dishwasher for parv and dairy, and another dishwasher for fleshik. One sink and countertop for fleshik and coffee. And we've been eating our brekkie, which was dairy. We have a sink and bench top for dairy and parv. So everything gets kept separate. Here's our little bar area where the kiddies do their homework and study Hebrew and Torah and my little pop-up doll things, right? And we got my Hall of Fame where I have some of my pictures there. We have blenders. It can be all together in the refrigerator. Some people do have separate stuff for separate refrigerators for separate stuff. But that's it. It's all separate. Now, I'm back. Let me explain a little bit more to you. So cooking can be a little challenging, but if you look at it and see it as kind of a challenging game and interesting, it is actually fun, and I love to do the cooking. I'm the Abba. I do all the cooking. The kitchen's my room. I'll give you an example. I love steak, and I love mashed potatoes. Now, usually when someone would make mashed potatoes, they'd make it with some sort of dairy in it, right? However, you can't do that if you're going to keep kosher. So I make the kosher meat, and I make the potatoes, mashed potatoes, with, you ready for it? Coconut milk. Coconut milk! What an idea. It's fantastic. And it's kosher because coconut milk is parv. That's absolutely right. Okay, let me show you. Do we have anything? Yeah, I'm going to, hold on. Now, when you go shopping, there is a way that you can tell if something is kosher or not. Because remember what I said was that vegetables and grains and fruits and stuff, all kosher. Well, there's some stuff, if it's packaged goods or it's anything else or meat or anything like that, and you have to know, you find here we go. Say you're going and you want to get some, there we go. You want to get some, all right? Now you understand that's Hebrew, right? But not only that, but it's got hechshers on it. It tells you that it's kosher parv. There you go. And that's how you can tell. And when in doubt, you can even ask a rabbi, or there are books. You can even Google it. Is this brand kosher or is not? Okay? Now, each and every family has their own way and their own level of keeping kosher. And my only advice is this: if you decide you're going from non-kosher to a little bit more kosher, that you go a little bit at a time. The important thing is not to do it all at once. The important thing is to do it so you take out little bites, as it were, that you can, once you go forward in terms of becoming a little bit more observant, you don't go back anymore. So just start with one thing and just do kosher there. One of the things we did is that we started buying just kosher cheese, because a lot of cheese has rennet, animal rennet in it. It's not kosher. So we started with that. And once we made that decision, we stayed with it. Now, there's only one exception to this. Remember, I said there's an exception with the grains in terms about being kosher or not. There's a period of 8 days. I wonder if you can guess what it is. All right? It's 8 days. In the northern hemisphere, it's springtime. In the southern hemisphere, it's autumn time. And it has a lot to do with stuff like you have a big meal, and it's about going from slavery to fruit. Pesach, that's right. And during Pesach, everything changes. During Pesach, you're not allowed to have any of these grains. Ready? Wheat, oats, rye, barley, and spelt. Now you can have wheat in matzah because it doesn't touch the water that long. All right, but the rest of the stuff you can't have. And because of that, you have to have specific utensils and cookware, and if you're observing with this, and dishes and all sorts of stuff that we only bring out for 8 days a year. Not 8 days a week. Sorry, Paul, George, Ringo, John. But 8 days a year. And we keep that stuff in the garage packed up safely. And I bring it out before Pesach. So that's the only exception. Now, the idea is really not to be hard on yourself. Not to make yourself rigid with what you eat. The idea is to be mindful. Think about what you eat. Think about that you are what you eat. And just does not eat stuff without thinking about what you're putting in your body. Be healthy, be mindful, be happy, be curious, have fun with it, and have yummy, yummy, yummy food with good company around you. Because that, my friend, is what it's all about. I will talk to you later, and good luck, and shalom.